be advised, I will be listening to videos in the background.
I hate Spellmans. Let me explain, because I feel like a lot of people may get the wrong idea when I say that. I don't mind grinding. It sucks, and it takes longer than a gear set, but if I can get it in the game without needing to pay, that's fine. The type of Spellmans that I hate are the ones you have to pay for through the Crown Shop. Spellmans like Ship of Fools puts you in two categories that are both awful. You either have to grind for gold keys to go hit the boss in Celestia that doesn't even give you a 100% drop rate, or you literally have to gamble in the Crown Shop, which I've done. I've spent probably $30-$40 on trying to get Ship of Fools. I got 3 Spellements, and you need 35. I just think it's so unfair for a game to force you to buy a good AoE. I'm not saying it's a pay-to-win option, because I don't think Wizard 101 is pay-to-win. I guess it is pay-to-win because you have to pay to play the game. There's definitely elements in the game that makes it feel pay-to-win, and Spellements are one of those things.
Y'all, Wizard 101 is about to add a bunch of crazy balance spells into the game, including what might be one of the new best hits in the entirety of Wiz. So here's the deal, right? Every rank 1 through 6 spell is getting a new third option, the upcoming spring update, and Wiz is releasing teasers for these changes through a bunch of content creators, school by school. Today was the balance spell teasers. I've linked the original teaser video in the description, but I wanted to talk about what I think are going to be the massive, meta-shattering, game-changing balance spell. Starting right off with this new Hydra. Now keep in mind, this is going to be a third option added to the current 2 options we have for Hydra, but this is easily the best Hydra that we've ever seen. It's incredible, mainly because of the swap feature that it uses. Now, probably for y'all to understand why I'm freaking out over this new Hydra, you should probably understand what the swap feature does. It's one of the 2 things that Balance can do. They can echo and swap stuff, basically. And swapping simply means that, let's say that I have a shield and my opponent has a shield, we will swap those shields. Let's say that my opponent has a shield, but I don't have a shield. The swap is actually a steal. So what this new Hydra is saying is, it'll swap 5 shields before it even does the triple hit that Hydra's always done. Now, why is this such a big deal in both PvP and PvE? Because the current version of Bottom Path Hydra uses the other thing that Balance can do, which is echoing. But echoing leaves a lot to be desired, right? What this spell does is, after the elemental hit, if your opponent has shields left over, meaning, let's say they had an elemental shield, it would just basically nerf the Hydra and they would have no shields remaining. But let's say, I don't know, they spirit shielded or like legend shielded or some kind of like mid-life death shield. Right, for each remaining shield after the hit, you'll get a 55% tower per shield left on them up to 5. This is basically only good when your opponent spirit shields or legend shields or whatever, because they'll have extra shields after the elemental hit and then you'll get some defense. But if someone is expecting a Hydra, they're not going to do anything other than some sort of elemental shield. So the echo mechanic is very bad. But this new version of Hydra, what's real...
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
You could say I am the biggest nobody of them all.
New bitch, new whip, that's that beat shit. Talk slick, get your cool wet, elevate shit. Old boy passed away, I call that elevation. Niggas got robbed at the new gas station. Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? Where? Switch on here with K and we fade. How's your bullet thing? I don't like to wait, waste my time and you lose fate. I don't ever lie, I just stop and reduce face. Simon, I'ma do that psilocybin in this bitch, I'm never trying. In this bitch, I know you crying on your shit, I'm always climbing. In this bitch, I'm dead, I'm tired of shit, man, you're behind me. And my clickers in me siren in this bitch.
You could say I am the biggest nobody of them all.
Tell them where I'm at, you can tell them where I be. I be posted in this phone with my nigga Killer V. Tell them where I'm at, you can tell them where I be. I be posted in this phone with
My nigga Killer V. You know, so he's attacked. About to move bacon. But the being on the bacon.
They say the chop can't flow, but we've been known to do the impossible like one great show. So stick if you want, like we'll help you get your Z's true.
There's the real scoop. I'm all that and then some. So like and
so what's the nut inside your eye? To show you where I come from. I'm back, human. I've had it up to here. My days of pain who's over. Ecology is in there.
Yeah.
Head for the water, go get a taco. I'll be ready from the country. Meaning from the get-go. Sit back, relax, and let yourself go. Forget what you heard, but act like you know.
Yes, y'all. Who got the vibe? Mr. Drive, y'all. Real live, y'all.
Inside, outside, come around. Who's that? Some may I say, call me Charlie. The word is a herb, and I'm like Bob Marley. Way back on the payback, you all rotate the gate.
Contact.
Can I get a hit?
Hit.
Boom, flip with a brother named Tip. Never ready to flip.
East Coast stomping. Ripping and ruffing. Loop up with the niggas jumping. Check it out.
The loops for the loops, more bounds to the ounce. And
Wow.
What else to the steel gets down? For the flex, next is the textbook goes to the new. What the rest are new. From radio to the video to a stereo. Tell me, yo, what's the scenario? What we do? Scenario, space more than four. Four for the floor, that's all the dance floor. Now I go for mine, chase, G-shore. Shake, crush, break, ace, the plate, take, for the weight.
What the hell? Nigga, send a couple niggas.
Place in the space, things, see you later.
Later, alligator.
Pop goes to these flavor, earth the inflator. So yo, the G, what the O, incorporated INC into a flow. Fuck, flip, flat, back, first, fist, foul, fight, laugh, yo, how that sound?
It's a leader quest mission and we got the goods here. Never hold the left cause my rights are good here. I could give a damn about an ill subliminal. Stay away from clowns so I ain't no criminal. I love my location, do the sensation. Without a hibernation, only elation. Don't ever try to test. Go on a little kid, don't miss the Busta Rhymes. Tell them what I heard you rush, and attack. And then you had to smack. Hold the rambunctious, shoot out the spear, raise the levels of the boom. Inside the air. You know I hit it, so don't violate or you'll get violated. The hip hop sound is well agitated. We'll never waste no time on the play out ego. So here's Busta Rhymes with the scenario.
Watch, I got the mind, on the from the mind. Heal up, wheel up, bring it back, come to mind. I will do impact, boom, from the cannon. I'm bragging, try to read the mind, just imagine. Oh, can't feel very necessary when digging into my library. Oh my gosh, feeling like the one beats the boss. Oh no, for the track man. Oh, pardon me, as I come back. As I did it, I had to beg your pardon. When I travel from the sun, I roll with the squadron. Wow, like a dungeon dragon. Send a little card with the pants sagging. Try to set the devil, put you in a turret. In heaven, while I like the most nail urine. Somebody choco, the chocolate chicken, the rear knock diesel, the chicks they were kicking. Yo, was it out of all the bust up on the rhythm, they all around the whole town. We rhythm the sound just like Bobby Yo. Observe the vibe and check out the scenario.
Here we go. So. Here we go. So. This. Alright, let's go. Let's see if we can beat this. I have to beat all of these or just one? Oh, just him? I don't even have to beat the other ones. Wow, I did that for nothing. Alright, I think I'm ready.
Hour per shield left on them up to 5. This is basically only good when your opponent spirit shields or legend shields or whatever, because they'll have extra shields after the elemental hit and then you'll get some defense. But if someone is expecting a Hydra, they're not going to do anything other than some sort of elemental shield. So the echo mechanic is very bad. But this new version of Hydra, what's really special about it is not only does it basically steal up to 5 shields on your opponent if you have no shields, it does it before this. You're looking at about a 515 damage hit. With an epic enchant in PvE, that is about 800 damage, and it's a hit that can essentially hit right through a shield, and it doesn't give up a ton of damage in order to do that, and it gives you defense, which in my opinion is the biggest part. The only other school that's this good against shields is the anti-shield school Fire, and honestly, their hits through shields are pretty goddamn underwhelming. Hierophant, it clears shields before doing basically up to 500 damage hit. This new Hydra literally does more than Hierophant. While yes, the more shields you clear, the more overtime damage you get, I'd say especially in PvE, overtime damage is just too little too late, if you ask me. This is very close to Fire King Art, which also hits through shields, but doesn't do any overtime damage, but it's pretty weak in comparison to this per pip. So in PvP, drop an enchant on this. Basically, you're good against any number of shields, because how often is your opponent going to shield more than 5 times? Very, very powerful new addition. The one drawback to this, of course, is that it's not a steel shield, it's a swap shield. So if you're the type of person to use something like elemental shield, or maybe like, you know, volcanic shield or glacial shield, right? Something that Hydra would not like to hit into, then this is not as good, right? Because you're gonna swap this over to your opponent, and then your Hydra's gonna hit into it. But definitely one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I've always wanted to see them do things with swaps that were more than just the 1 or 2 swaps we've gotten. This is a very, very crazy step for Balance. Now, weirdly enough, Balance didn't get too many things that were teased this time around, because if you didn't know, Scarab and Scorpion already have a third option. It's one of the few spells that do have it that aren't lore spells. But in my opinion, the other spell that is a massive story is this, the new Locust Swarm. Now this takes advantage of that other Balance identity, Echoing, but it does it with something we've never seen. This is a hit that echoes minions. Now just like we talked about swaps, let's talk about Echoing. And I thought it would be nice just to use the regular Locust Swarm that we have right now, but an echo basically means that if someone has something on you or them that you can echo, you can basically copy it, but it's normally a little bit weaker. So as an example, right, Locust Swarm right now, the bottom path, this is still going to be in the game, but the new Locust Swarm that we have teased will be a new third option. But this echoes traps. Essentially, if you have a trap or 2 traps, because this can echo up to 2 traps on yourself, this Locust Swarm will hit for 225, and it'll put a 50% universal trap per trap up to 2 that you have on yourself. Let's say somebody for some reason decides to LE trap me, right? This is 3 traps on me, and I use the current bottom path of Locust Swarm. You'll do 225 damage and put 2 50% universal traps on your opponent. I would actually argue this is a pretty underrated tool in both PvP and PvE, but this new Locust Swarm and basically reads your opponent for minions and then gives you a minion if they have one. Now, just like my Myth minion teasers that I did for my exclusive, we don't really know what the final parts of the minion audit are, but we do know that they are doing things with minions in the spring update. This new balance spell, if minions become meta, is going to be very, very good depending on what this echoed minion does. Now, what I really doubt will happen is, let's say that maybe troll minion becomes meta and a Myth casts a troll minion. I don't think what the spell is saying is it'll hit and then summon a troll minion for the balance. If it is that, could be very interesting. Maybe it just copies and not echo. But traditionally what echo has been for balance is it's not just the exact same thing happens for you. It's normally a universal or diluted version of it happens for you because that's balance, right? Balance is like very universal. I think this echoed minion is actually going to be its own thing. Could it maybe be a balanced minion that already exists? It could be maybe a Mandra minion, which would be ridiculous, by the way. They could also do what they did with Spectral minion, where it's a random minion of one of 3 schools. Maybe they do that. It could even be maybe a different minion, depending on what school the minion is, but it's still balanced team, so it would do different things versus a bunch of different scenarios. I think balance is one of those schools that has so many options that spells like this, you genuinely don't know what they could do, but this is a very cool mechanic. Fully depends on how like centralized the minion meta is, and obviously what this actual minion that comes out of this echo does. Now, outside of the rank 1 through 6 teasers, Wiz is also adding a bunch of new spells for every school through weaving, and just like in previous weaving scenarios, balance is getting some cool prism tools. So this is what they get for weaving into death. It's basically a prism blade that also puts 2 death blades on yourself, and this is the new reward essentially for weaving into fire. These are both rank 5 weaving things, but this is a prism that also adds 2 fire traps out of it. The way that it works is, based on the order of the card, if you do a balance hit, it'll prism and use the buff on the card. And I actually have a really cool video on the channel with me using Dust Blade in PvP. Very, very cool. But like, just like what's in Live Realm right now, right? Let's say that you do one of these, and you do a balance spell, the convert and a blade will be used on that turn. The issue is, let's say you do this and then you Stormblade after it, that Stormblade will not work until the prism is activated, and then you have to put another prism on top of it. So the order of the blades matters. That's my one problem with prisms in general, but I'm sure if y'all ever need the prism in PvE, you probably have seen this. That being said, balance being able to prism into a bunch of new things. You can literally prism into Myth, Fire, Storm, and Death after this update. Could be really cool. You basically never have to worry about on-school balance resist if you go into weaving. That's something that has basically been a historic problem for balance. And they're also getting this very crazy fusion spell for rank 5 storm weaving. Now, this is one of 2 things from the balance teasers that are contenders for maybe one of the new best hits in game. So you'd have to combine a Gearhead and a Storm Shark for this. And here's the thing, it does 990 base for 6 pips, but it could do basically 2,000 for 6 pips if you meet the condition on this card. That being said, the condition on this card is a lot. You have to give up a heal and 2 blades on yourself. I actually think the 2 blades is pretty easy, right? You could just put an elemental blade or a spirit blade, but pip efficiently healing yourself, it's not as easy to do. That being said, I would say storm weaving, maybe in PvP or PvE, especially when you consider the Dust Blade that we just looked at, it's actually not that bad. It's actually pretty rewarding. This could be something we actually see in PvE. It's a little harder to set up than I'd like, basically because unlike most gambits in the game, this is now you have to gambit 2 different things. Most spells, you just gambit like 4 blades or 4 weaknesses. You go a lot into one direction and you're kind of good. This is one of those spells similar to a lot of other balance spells these days where you kind of have to go into 2 directions.
I don't know how this battle is going to go out,
but
bro.
yes, this is enchantable in PvE,
I really
meaning
don't.
this is a 2300 damage hit for 6 pips. And the Ellie Blade or Spirit Blade part of it is easy. It's really how easily can you get the heal on in place of what you could have just done, which is buff, hit, right? So that's kind of the real question in PvE anyways. But in PvP, this is definitely potentially meta. There are strategies where this is just an amazing hit in PvE as well. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on all the balance teasers, y'all. In my opinion, the big highlights are definitely Hydra, Locust Swarm, and the new Storm Fusion. And if y'all want a full look at every teaser, make sure you check the link in the description for the original teaser video. I just went over the highlights in this. I look forward to reading all of y'all's thoughts on this, y'all. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Leave a sub for new. And as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon. And yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Wizard 101 video. Today, I'm going to be changing it up a little bit. You may notice that there is no face cam. That's because I feel like it doesn't really work with this guide, because I'm going to be doing a voiceover script kind of type beat of Mount Olympus in a series of guide videos that I plan on doing. So hopefully you find this change of pace at least to be interesting. If not, let me know in the comments below, but let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about Mount Olympus and what that entails, every fight, all of that. So let's get into it. Level 30, bam. Out of nowhere, Cyrus Drake shows up on the side of your screen and he goes, "Young wizard, come to my office. I have an offer from the Olympians of Aquila." And you're like, well, I guess. I don't really like you, Cyrus, but sure. And you go to him and he's like, "You have been invited to the Immortal Games," which is where mortals can challenge the Olympian gods of Aquila. And basically he's like, go to the library and find a thing on the Chariot of Apollo. And basically you look for that book, and then you go to Romulus in Cyclops Lane, who will guide you to the chariot. He kind of understands some stuff, and he's getting smarter because you're just reading some books. You manage to repair the chariot and go to Aquila, and you're greeted with the Garden of Herpes, as I like to call it, where there's a satyr named Silenus, and he's like, "Yes, you have accepted the invite to the Immortal Games." And he's like, "Zeus on Mount Olympus will decide your fate." And you're like, "Oh, okay, that's a little bit aggressive, but sure." You meet with each of his daughters, and they're like, "Yeah." Yeah, that's basically it.
Each of his daughters?
And then you enter Mount Olympus.
It's not his daughters. Zeus's daughters are Victory and the goddess of victory and the goddess of liberty. And that's the quote unquote goddess that you see in New York. The Statue of Liberty is supposed to be a representation of Zeus's daughter, the goddess of liberty. Or on the flip side, it could be this probably might be too much for YouTube, but on the flip side it could be Lucifer, you know, when he broke free. That's too much though. Y'all don't know about that. It's too much, bro. It's too much for y'all right now.
Okay, Athena will be your guide through Mount Olympus. Now, before we get into the actual fights and guide to Mount Olympus, why
I gotta fight all of them? Okay, bet.
Well,
whoop
it's really
they ass.
simple. There's extremely good gear with the Zeus gear and the Senator's gear, and it's pretty easy to do with 2 to 3 level 30s and gives really good XP.
They are strong as shit.
Intro is all out of the way. Let's actually get into the dungeon. Athena welcomes you and is like, "Challenge Apoyo, the sun god." Apoyo is a nice little funny pun because Apoyo means chicken in Spanish, I believe. So you beat him up. He has 3.3 thousand health and 3 Cyclops minions, all with 900 health. Apollo can drop
I'm about to die, y'all.
Senator's gear, but nothing much else. He's really easy to beat, honestly. I would recommend just fanting him and then hitting him with a 4-pip hit-all spell, and you should handily be able to beat him. After killing Apollo, you go back to Athena, and she's all like, "Well, that was impressive. Go beat up the people in the Moon Chamber," which is basically just some centaurs who are like daughters of Artemis or whatever, based on the huntresses of Artemis. And the Moon Centaur, which, Moon is an elusive school, so you might not know what it resists, but it resists death, myth, and ice. So I would just recommend using a 4-pip hit-all spell to deal with this. You go back to Athena, and she's like, "Pog chomp. Now go defeat the people at the sky balcony." You do that. There's a Praetorian Guard, a storm enemy with like 900 health. He's really easy. Just use another 4-pip hit-all. Honestly, really easy fight. And you go back.